People, our members is one of our members in Salt Lake City is an elderly woman. She's Dutch, Renje Visser, a very strong supporter, one of the very first of the Life members, because they started the Life membership program in Salt Lake City at the 1981 convention. And she couldn't be here. She's too sick because of her heart condition. But she's devoted to Madeline and a strong believer in the atheists. It was her idea for us to get involved in the bus posters. Renje Visser has made a donation to American Atheists. She has done some craft work in putting together a pillow and a very fine Afghan. She is a real pro at this. She continues to win blue ribbons at the state fairs and other fairs in Utah. And she has donated this, and what I want to do is to auction it off, and the money goes to National, goes to the goes to American Atheists. So I would like to entertain an opening bid. We will start at $100. The yarn alone is $45.
Let me have your attention. I hate to interrupt Chris right now because this is very important, but we do have a general question and answer session scheduled in just a few minutes. For any of you that would like to question the officers or what have you for the American Atheists, general interest questions. So any of those that are interested in that, please remain in the room.
Anybody who's interested, please come up and take a look at this. The pillow and the Afghan. This is a very nice color, very tastefully done. Do I see anybody who's interested? Well, I see some people standing up. Does that mean you're interested? It's $100 for the chapter. Anybody want to make a donation to the chapter and get something for your money at the same time? I don't see anybody willing to give us a donation. All right. Okay. Certainly. Well, we'll leave it up here, and please come up and take a look at it when you get a chance. This is excellent work. It has won a blue ribbon itself at the Utah State Fair. Come up and take a look at it. This is you look at the handiwork involved.
Garth is supposed to be reading a secretary's report. Where is he? Aye, aye, sir. We have here in a legal-sized paper a summary of the year in respect to the political attack which was made on both atheism and state-church separation. John spoke to that in his speech before this convention, and we do feel that the First Amendment is dead. You heard from Henry Martin that the Fourth Amendment, through action of the United States Supreme Court, has been removed to all extent and purposes from the Constitution of the United States, and we feel that the First Amendment is going down the drain rapidly. Let's go over this. You can be reading it as you get it. In January, in order to have more outreach, we rescheduled the membership so that we have everything from $5 up to $500 for membership, with prisoners at $5, students at $12, unemployed at $20, or variable downward with their circumstances. 65 and over, $20, individual 40, couple 50, sustaining 100, and life members 500. So we're trying to accommodate to your level of income, and we are doing everything that we can in order to outreach and be available to every atheist in the human community. The worldwide broadcast of the American Atheist Radio Series was begun on WDX Radio in January of last year. That's a provider service station for 4,160 individual stations worldwide, with a potential listenership of 500 million in 250 languages. And we are being translated into 250 languages And we are being picked up in Ireland and Greece by almost every single station. We're also being picked up all over Africa. That's a 15-minute daily program of the American Atheist Series, what you've been reading in the magazine. And this programming has been so successful. Now hear this, this is tragic, that we are being asked to do a 1/2 hour program once a day on whatever appears in the newspapers that day, a political and sociological analysis of it, and we simply don't have the time to do it. So we are simply not on the air worldwide to 4,160 stations because I've got to clean the toilets and Garth's got to go for the mail, and that's more important than to appear on 4,160 stations worldwide. And this is simply because we do not have clerical hands in the organization. There is nobody to go and pick up the mail but John. There is nobody to do all of the work, clerical work, but me. I sit in front of that goddamn computer sometimes for 14 hours at a stretch. When I'm not there, Garth is there. He has to bag the books to mail out. And stroking the American atheists for the few bucks that they send us is more important than an outreach to the world. We can go on for 1/2 hour once a day, active live, starting tomorrow if we want to. And we don't have time to do this. The secretary of the organization has just appeared, and since it's his duty to read the secretary's report, he can now take over with the next paragraph. Come on up here. We're down to the restructuring of the chapters, right here. And everybody is getting a copy of this so they can follow along with you.
Okay. Okay, I'm not actually going to read any of this verbatim because if you're getting copies, you can follow along. I think the best use of time is for me to just give a little bit of additional comment that's in more detail than we have written here. On the general issue of restructuring the chapters, we have found that there has been a general difficulty with respect to the chapters in recent years of them getting people to come out to meetings and getting people to participate on an active level. We feel that the climate in the country, the changing climate with Reagan and the increased religious climate, has caused a lot more atheists to remain in the closet in proportion to the ones that it's causing to come out. And I think what is coming from that is a realization that some of the chapters that haven't been able to make it have needed to change over their format to be more social than anything else. And what we did was we came up with the concept of having monthly, usually on a Sunday, brunches at a chapter level. And we found out that a lot of those brunches did very well, and the people could get together for a social type activity of just the talking and people bringing in interesting newspaper clippings and that kind of thing at brunches or at meal functions, rather than trying to have a chapter do anything, and I guess probably the word is substantive. That is, because chapters cannot do anything like litigating anymore. You can't do that, it's too expensive. Chapters have a lot of other things that they can't do, and that a number of them have to be primarily social organs now to keep from breaking up altogether. And I've just found this over and over again, that the social thing is what will have to hold them together. And we know here in Austin, Texas, we were really never able to get anything together in Austin, Texas until we started having brunches. And as soon as we started having Sunday brunches, we were able to get some interest when there was a regular time every month that people could get together just on a social basis to exchange ideas with respect to that. So that's kind of the overall thrust of what's said in this section of the report about chapters, beyond us trying to get every chapter to at least have a Dial an Atheist and to send out a monthly newsletter. Now, Robin Murray O'Hare has attempted to take over the position of convention coordinator at the American Atheist Center. And I think that she will agree that she is finding that she is not able to do that with respect to time constraints in the real way that she wants to do it. She cannot edit the American Atheist magazine and do everything else that she needs to do with respect to publications and give as much time as she would like to the chapters. It is imperative, and it has been imperative since the beginning of chapter formation, that we have a single person who is dedicated to being a chapter coordinator and nothing else. And that part of being that chapter coordinator is that that person needs to be able to be free enough that they can actually fly to and visit chapters on a regular basis, that they can make maybe 20 or 30 airline trips a year, and they can be running out all the time. They can be maybe out of the center a week of every month or so, going back and forth, staying on the telephone, keeping in real touch, and doing nothing but helping chapters. We need a full-time person like that, and Robin tries to do that as best she can in between things whenever they happen to catch us. Now, a number of you that are chapter directors or people from chapters know that the majority of the time, if you call up and it's 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night in our time zone, usually you'll still get one of us because we're there at the office that late every night. And that it is difficult to keep up with everything else that we're doing and still keep up with the demands of the chapters. We really have to have a full-time person. One of the biggest areas in which you can see that is that a lot of the chapters are behind constantly in receiving computer printouts and new names and mailing list information from Austin, simply because nobody in Austin has time to go in and run it off. I mean, it's one thing when you're programming and running off lists and all of this to send to one chapter, but if you're sending them to 40 or 50 chapters, you get after a while to where you can't make ends meet. So, despite that, however, during the year, there have been some new chapters come up, of course. Central Pennsylvania has a nice little group going now. Central Illinois during the year. Twin Cities started during the year. And Frank Zindler started in Central Ohio. And Boston has been reorganized. I think one other thing that I want to say about chapters is that I think I've said this in previous years. We know at the National Center and accept full responsibility for the fact that we have been, to a great extent, from the beginning of chapter organizing activities back when the first chapter was there, which was Los Angeles, I think, was our first chapter, wasn't it, with Don Latimer, I think. And Lloyd Thorne in Indiana, but they were very, very close. That we have been consistently unable to cope with what I call chapter support. We knew this from the beginning, but we acquiesced to the desire of the membership in order to have local groups where they could meet one another, and that the membership had a screaming desire for this. Everybody wanted to meet the other atheists in their city. And we went ahead with establishing a network of chapters when we knew full well that we could not provide the logistical support or training base that those chapters needed. It's kind of like an army sending troops out when they know that they can't have a supply line to them, and they don't have the backup people in the office doing the paperwork to keep the army going. And we did this knowing full well in advance that we didn't have the logistical support, but we did it because the outcry was so great. That judgment on our part has generated increasing difficulties over the years with respect to chapter formation, and it is starting in many ways to catch up with us at this particular time right now. We cannot support you in the way that we would like to without a full-time person and without massive written and other material that we can get to the chapters as an instructional way of doing it. Also, the information exchange back and forth between national and chapters is getting harder and harder to keep up, and we have problems that are generated associated with that. And perhaps we can talk a little bit about that later. that issue is one that at this chapter directors meeting at this convention and at previous conventions has yet to be resolved. And I think it's probably, again, one of those issues that's going to have to be resolved through funding on the national end. The next topic that's addressed in here is the media with respect to national office. Now, you can read what is in that paragraph generally, but with respect to the media, I want to give a couple general observations. Number one, the media has been treating us a little better every single year. We've been getting better coverage. We've been getting more fair coverage. When they do cover us, we have been doing a little bit better. For example, we got our front page spread here in the Austin American-Statesman this year, and the Austin American-Statesman has never, ever given us anything like that. We've had even good coverage about this convention here in the Statesman so far, and we've been doing well. On the other hand, we have the same continuing type of problem with the convention, with the media, which revolves particularly around Madalyn Murray O'Hair, and that's a problem that she has been fighting, you all know about, and she can't do anything about, which is that the media still absolutely refuses to acknowledge anything but Madalyn Murray O'Hair, and that Madalyn Murray O'Hair in and of herself is the atheist organization. They refuse to acknowledge that we have an organization, that we have chapters, that we have other persons involved, any of you that are speaking out. It's very, very difficult. Everything has to be tied back to her. We call this the Messiah complex of the media, and we affectionately refer to Madalyn as the Messiah all the time in the office. And he was just as liable as not to hear that on the telephone saying, Messiah line 3. We have a running joke in the office about that. But it is a very serious thing.